places. Therefore, I think it is important for us to understand that strategically that might be something that will help us. Also, from my own experience, my students have told me, oh, we were taught, somebody came and talked about Swahili. They sang a song in Swahili that lived with them. And when they come saying, one day when I go to college, I have to, if they are going to offer this, I'm going to take the course, the language. So that's so true. One school in this area did tell me they have been teaching Swahili, and they wanted me to help them. I find somebody who could help them. So you find that that is happening. In the Chapel Hill district, right here, the calendar of events, actually one of them is in Swahili. One of the languages is actually in Swahili. So that means there's a population here, because we've had people from Congo come here, and we've had people from Rwanda, and it's something that is so important. I go to church nearby here, and this lady who sits next, she likes to sit in front of me. The mother is from Congo, and when she is there, she cannot speak English, so the lady has to interpret for her. So what I'm trying to tell you is, we will look at these languages that are spoken widely, and then these other ones maybe on an occasional, maybe on a cultural day you can share a few of those phrases in those languages. Yoruba is a language that is widely spoken. In the DC area and others, Amharic is really a language that is followed. In Minnesota, you find Somalian. So there are those languages that are very, very common, and the population actually calls for that to be considered.
Okay, so we have this paradox, right?
Yes.
What you just talked about. When you look at this from the continent's perspective, because what you just said is perfect for the United States, right? But when you look at it from the continent's perspective, and you get there and you start talking about Swahili, Kikuyu, Akan, Congo, that is a good number of those languages that are being lost, right? Tanzania is losing the most languages now because of Swahili. So this is the problem we face all the time. Anytime, and research has shown that English, French, and all that are not making languages disappear in Africa. It's the languages of wider communication. So I do not really know how we're going to resolve this. The practical solution, the solution is not realistic, which is like rolling back globalization, going back to the way it was before, which was that when people met those times, they communicated. When I met the person in the next village, we communicated in our dialect, right? And then I learned the next language, and then I used that one as well. And then I learned the third one for the bigger one, right? But now when we are given a bigger regional one, that eliminates the need for me to learn the one next to me, which is what is happening now. Imagine the situation, that is not possible, but imagine the situation where government decided that, okay, we instead of developing like wider regional African languages, we will rather encourage every village to teach whatever they can teach in their language. And in that case, we are not talking about the whatever bigger language, and I'm not going to get political about what that bigger language should be, but that the insistence is on some form of instruction in each village in the language of that specific area. That will force people to keep those languages of those areas. And then, so the government should not be promoting one regional language in each area, because anytime we do that, we will continue losing. The last time we wrote a book on language endangerment, I think we were talking about 3,000 and plus languages. Now it's like 2,000. It's going down. All the time, and we are going to lose it. And very soon, we are all going to how did you say, oh my God, in Swahili? That is what we are all going to be saying. I won't be able to say it in my language. That's the reality.
In Yoruba, it's, oh
Yeah,
my
I think
God.
that is a very important comment, and it is a very tough one, and it's a difficult one. But again, as we have seen, I think we have to begin from the grassroots, begin from the home, and spread it out as such, and that is going to really ensure that these languages do survive. Bigger languages, and I'm glad to see Dr. Mosha here, who is the director of TUKI, the Swahili Research Institute. And yes, they are advocating and promoting Swahili, definitely, research in Swahili, vocab, but they should be working in collaboration with these other languages, because even for Swahili to be where it is, for it to gain, and she told me actually that they're going to be putting the Swahili dictionary on Android. So again, globalization there comes and gives us all of these benefits. But the thing is, we should have those grassroots interventions, lobbyists who will do that. When I walk on the streets of Nairobi, some words are written in Gikuyu, which tells me that those languages are there. And some people intentionally actually prefer, and this is ironical, to teach their kids, say Gikuyu, and not even Swahili. Because they know that that is what carries so much, but the Swahili is going to be gained at school. So those are some of the strategies we can use. It is something that we have to do collectively. And as you say, we need to understand the danger that is going to be caused, especially in urban areas. The language shift and eventually death of languages is not a new thing. Look at what happened in Latin America. Spanish came in and wiped out many languages, so that some people are even shy to say they speak those languages. It's so unfortunate, the attitudes that we have, the negative attitudes. Ngugi also told you how we were all punished. I was punished many times, and I would be told, you know, carry something and say I'm stupid from wherever, which was my town, my hometown. So you can tell that if somebody keeps telling me you're stupid, and sometimes it punishes you when others are playing and I like to play, and I'm going to slash and you know, repair a rhino pit and all that. That isn't good. So the result of that is where we are. But things can change with. That's why you study language, to impact, to change the world, and begin from home. Do something. Do research in that area. And I'm glad you're doing language endangerment. That is going to help. And share those findings, because if you keep them to yourself, no one will ever know. Influence, we have so many lobbyists, and especially in East Africa, I've seen so many lobbyists who go and insist that we need this constitution translated into mother tongue. We need these books published. And there's somebody, I think in South Africa, who is trying to do that. She's saying rather, it's a she, that we're going to publish books in local languages. So that's important for us. Last question, not last question, last comment on that. You said languages are dying. Like in Tanzania, it will say there are 120. Now they're saying there are 150. So there are so many things happening. Those figures need to be double checked.
I totally agree with our colleague regarding this problem of disappearance of languages, because first, African nations have, African state nations have used the models of France and Britain to basically engineer and plan one language, one nation when after in post-colonial colonial era. And when you mentioned the fact that English was a dialect, I don't remember who said an official language is a dialect that has an army. And so the fact that African nation states have used these models, imported models, to basically get rid of tribalism or unify the nations has been detrimental, not only for their development and you mentioned education, but also for mother tongues, minority mother tongues that are relegated to the background and also minimized to just a folklore and cultural aspects that aren't not so much official, but that are deemed authentic authentic culture, while the other cultures that are high are maintained by the elites.
That's correct. Yeah, and that's very true. So it's an unfortunate scenario, but again, and I think that's what Mwalimu Sanza, who does a lot of looking at language and education. But you'll see that for example, in most countries it was supposed to be transitional, but some schools have abandoned that model, and they end up just trying to force this other language so that students can do well. So it's drilling, and losing that important aspect of connecting the child and the idea before they bring something new. So there are two things, or maybe three things, that this student has to grapple with. And so I do agree with you. It's an unfortunate that we have important models that have not worked for us, and we continue pushing and pushing. And yet, as I said, figures, data show that we are way behind in all of this.
And may I add one point? One of the mistakes minority mother tongues are, in my view, and I think some of the scholars have also mentioned this, is the fact that they are basically delegating the development of these tongues to the government, once to the schools, and once something is officialized and put in a curriculum, that's probably its final it's the death of the language. Of the language, as our colleague mentioned, the language lives in society, and it lives with the economics, like you said, with the relationships between people and how they interact with each other. Once we put it on paper and it's part of the official language, that's probably a problem.
So we actually need this language in all domains, so that they can actually survive the test of our times.
Yeah, I just want to add on, especially what James said about the local languages being promoted. The thing is, some African countries are doing this, some African governments are doing this. For example, in Kenya, according to the language policy, the local language should be the language of instruction in those schools. But the thing is, most schools are not doing this. They are having their own local arrangements of what language of instruction should be. So even though the governments have stated this, the language policy is the local languages must be used in education, but the parents, the teachers, and the principals, they are not following that. But the thing is, our governments are not implementing whatever they are talking about. So we have that challenge. And also another challenge is when we say the local languages to be used in different villages, there is the challenge of cost. And that's what most governments have been arguing, that is too expensive. But as many scholars have argued, what about to that child who goes to school, is unable to know what is going on? He keeps quiet throughout the day because he can't use the language of communication or the language of instruction in that particular school. Because if he speaks his local language, he or she will be punished. So you can see it's doing detriment, it has negative effects to our children. But our governments are continuing to say the cost is too high. So the thing is, what should be done?
The last one question. Last one.
Okay, I'll take the last one, and then I'll give up my time for.
I think this is really